Piggy.
You still need to go to the doctor?
I don't know. Why don't we wait till tomorrow?
Oh, okay.
Well, what do you think?
Well, how do you feel?
All right. I just have a few chills. I don't feel feverish anymore.
Your fever was 100 or 1.5.
Now?
Yeah. So you feel feverish now?
Yeah, I feel feverish. It wasn't 101. They said I was fine.
But see, now I said you had a fever, so you said, yeah, I feel fever. You can hear them. Wait, where's my pad? Marshall, where's that pad I was reading? Oh, here it is.
Okay, so if you're on the Zoom feed and you're not speaking, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself to avoid background noise.
Welcome, and again, we'd like to start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. I think we're probably maxed out as far as our spacing. So hopefully everybody who wants to be here is here. Oh, you guys are perfect there. And yeah, we figured 9, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just about there. Okay. And again, as Jacob Pride had mentioned, we opened some just to get this air circulating. You guys have been sitting around here for a while. Stagnant air is the last thing you need. So we'll generate. Okay, so we're ready to go. We have a public hearing this evening for conditional use, and I'll turn to our solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Those of you who may have attended other conditional use hearings know that I have a pattern set of introductory remarks, and since there was not a public hearing in this matter by the Board of Supervisors, since that matter had been stayed, I'm going to go through all of those introductory remarks as a new matter. So first of all, as the Township Solicitor, my job is to render legal advice to the Township Board of Supervisors, and that will be my function at today's proceedings, as the Board of Supervisors basically act as judges, so to speak, in rendering a decision on the conditional use application. Before we begin the formal public hearing, there are some housekeeping and procedural items that need to be reviewed. First of all, this hearing is being held pursuant to the Township's decision dated September 22, 2020, where the Township Supervisors adopted a landowner curative zoning amendment to allow a private residential drug alcohol
Mitigation, right?
You're on Zoom and you're not speaking now. Please mute yourself.
To allow a private residential drug, alcohol, and substance abuse treatment center in the R-1 low-density zoning district. A conditional use proceeding is such, and these are the standards that are to be met. A conditional use is a certain use to be granted or denied by the Township Board of Supervisors pursuant to express standards or criteria as set forth in the zoning ordinance. A conditional use is similar to a special exception use that is granted by the Zoning Hearing Board. In fact, many of the legal standards are the same. The major difference is that a conditional use such as this are considered important enough to be made by the elected officials, not merely the appointed officials. A conditional use is a use which a governing body has determined is not adverse in and of itself to the public interest. A conditional use is actually a permitted use, absent proof that adverse impact upon the public interest is greater than what might be expected under normal circumstances. In conditional use proceedings, there is employed a shifting burden of persuasion. The applicant has the initial burden of proof to the township, to prove to the township that the use is of a type permitted and that use meets the ordinance requirements. Once the applicant does this, the presumption arises that the proposed use is consistent with the general welfare. The burden of persuasion then shifts to any objectors to rebut that presumption by proving to a high degree of probability that the use adversely affects the public welfare in a way not normally expected from that type of use. The mere possibility of an adverse impact is not enough. The township, in deciding a conditional use, is free to reject even uncontradicted testimony if it finds it lacks credibility, and that includes uncontradicted testimony of an expert. If the project is approved, the board can attach reasonable safeguards and conditions in addition to those expressed in the Township Zoning Ordinance as being necessary to implement the purposes of the State Planning Act and the Zoning Ordinance. Now, you should also know that this hearing may not be completed today, although it's hoped it can be, but it may not, since the stenographer can only work till 6:30 p.m. because of other commitments she has. Now, at this point, I usually discuss the difference between a party and a citizen commentator. In this matter, the township acknowledges that there are parties in this matter, when I say in this matter, which were the same matter as the Section 302 hearing, and unless the township supervisors otherwise disagree, those individuals can continue to remain parties in this particular matter. Anyone else who wishes to speak is considered a public commentator, and moreover, note that the open meeting law supports the position that only township residents and only township taxpayers should be entitled to offer public comment. However, I am told by the supervisors, as they've done in the past, that in the interest of promoting governmental transparency and responsiveness, they accept public comment from anyone unless that privilege becomes abused. And finally, the board will allow everyone who wants to speak to have an opportunity to speak. Understand that this matter is such that it has been heard by the board on 2 or 3 occasions. So again, and it's not comment that I'm going to make is not meant to stifle comment, to stifle public discussion, to in any way cause anyone not to feel they're permitted to speak. But hopefully, we do not need to go from ground one with respect to this matter or reinvent the wheel. We'll just see how it goes. And that being said, I have 3 items that I want to introduce into the record. One is Board Exhibit number 1, which is the Notice of Public Hearing and Public Meeting. Board Exhibit number 2 is the Affidavit of Posting. Board Exhibit number 3 are the publications in the newspaper, the Pocono Record, on both November 18 and November 25, 2020. And those exhibits have been shared with both the applicant and the objectors and/or protestants' attorneys prior to my introduction of these exhibits. And so now I ask that they be introduced into evidence and be made part of the record. And I would ask from the applicant and/or the objectors and protestants' attorney if there is any objection to these items. No objection.
No objection.
No objection. All right. Thank you. That being said, Mr. Chair, the matter moves to the to the Planning Commission. I'm sorry, to the supervisors and to Mr. Wolf to make his presentation in the.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron. The situation is with the previous meeting, Planning Commission, did run a little bit over, but it sounded like it was productive, and some good information and recommendations are coming from that. I personally am going to wait to see exactly how that plays out. In the interim, I would say, Attorney Wolf, would you like to begin?
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Following Attorney Karasek's comments, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel here. Normally, in a conditional use hearing, this would be the supervisor's first hearing of this. That's absolutely the last thing in this case. You've heard quite a bit of extensive testimony. I discussed with Attorney Ferrari a suggestion of incorporating the record of the extensive prior proceedings, not only the Section 302 proceedings, but also the curative amendment proceedings into this proceeding so that we don't have to rehash all of that extensive testimony. So we're not starting from scratch, we're moving forward from where we left off. That would be my recommendation and suggestion that we incorporate those proceedings if we can do that by stipulation.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, with that stipulation, then I'm going to note here that a record of the prior proceedings in both the Section 302 hearing and the landowner curative zoning amendment hearing be made part of the record in this case.
Thank you. What the supervisors have not heard thus far is, anything from the applicant formally with respect to an issue that has, you've heard a lot about, which is traffic, specifically traffic generation on Mountain Road from, individuals who are party objectors in this case. So I have today with me here Mr. Peter Terry, who I would propose to have testify in this matter. I'm going to call Mr. Terry at this time, if I could. Please stay right here.
Yeah, if you can move a little bit further. Okay, thanks, Peter. Can you tell me, Derek, or from the other truth, the truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Can you state your name for the record?
Peter A. Terry.
Terry, what is, nature of your employment?
I'm the president of Benchmark Civil Engineering Services in Allentown, PA.
And, what sort of services does Benchmark provide?
We provide surveying, land development, and my specialty would be traffic engineering.
Okay. To become an engineer, you had certain education, correct?
That's correct.
And what was that?
I have a bachelor's degree from Lehigh University and a master's degree from
And your master's is in what?
transportation.
As part of, your occupation as an engineer, are you required to be licensed?
Yes, I am.
And what licensure do you have?
I'm licensed in the state of Pennsylvania as a professional engineer.
Civil engineering services, how long have you been with that company?
I founded it in 1994.
Mr. Wolf, could you hold on one moment? Whoever you are, I mean, if we see your name, we're gonna have to remove you from this meeting. I mean, this Zoom is, you know, a privilege. We're trying to be transparent and maintain this, but if you're going to constantly interrupt with background noise, it's gonna make it difficult for us to do our jobs.
Terry, have you testified previously in land use matters?
Yes, I have.
Have you testified in Monroe County, Pennsylvania?
I have.
Looking at your, resume here such as it is, looks like you've, testified in matters in Middle Smithfield Township, Pocono Township, Stroud Township, Polk Township, among the, municipalities here in Monroe County?
That's correct.
And has that testimony been in the area of, traffic engineering?
That's correct.
And I would, offer Peter A. Terry, as an expert for testimony on behalf of the applicant with respect to traffic generation and parking requirements, for this project.
Hey, one question, sir, working on behalf of the townships or other?
I have clients, both for townships and for.
I understand that, but when you mentioned the Stroud and those other ones that were just
The
mentioned.
ones that were mentioned, I was working for private developers
Okay.
or the school district. Let me see if any, counsel on behalf of the objectors and protestants would have any questions with respect to, Mr. Terry's qualifications. No questions, stipulate his qualifications.
No questions, agree to his qualifications.
Thank you.
Okay, that being said, Mr. Rule, you may continue.
Thank you. Mr. Terry, are you familiar with the, property and the site of the proposed, drug and alcohol treatment facility that's the subject of this, application?
Yes, I am.
Have you been to the site itself?
Yes, probably not in 2000, but certainly a number of times in 2019.
In conjunction with the, this application and the proceeding of this application in front of the Planning Commission, the Smithfield Township Planning Commission, you had given some, informal testimony at that point?
Correct.
And, in conjunction with your appearance here today, have you reviewed and updated, the information in your report?
That's correct.
In addition to, familiarity with the site, have you visited the, Borough of Delaware Water Gap, which adjoins the site?
Yes, I have.
Have you inspected the roadways leading to the site?
So I've walked Mountain Road, from Route 611 back up into the site, as well as drove extensively on the adjacent roadway network.
Are you familiar with the proposed use for the site as a drug, alcohol, and substance abuse treatment facility?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to show you what I have pre-marked as applicant's number 1. You can identify that.
This is the trip generation and parking analysis, which I prepared. It's dated November 2020.
And that's a report that you have prepared?
That's correct.
Is that prepared on behalf of the applicant, Water Gap Capital Partners LLC?
Yes.
And it relates to the property and specifically the site that is the subject of this application, correct?
Correct.
Terry, I want to walk through, first of all, generally what's covered in this report. There are 2 things, correct? There's parking generation and trip generation, correct?
That's correct.
Now, parking generation relates to the parking requirements on the site itself, correct?
Yes.
And that was done in part for use and review by the planning commission previously, correct? Yes. But also for the supervisor.
Correct.
I want to spend most of the time and questions for you on the trip generation aspect of the report that you prepared. Trip generation the same as traffic?
Well, a full traffic study would include potentially capacity analysis.
I'm sorry, what is
Capacity analysis. This study focused on identifying the number of trips associated with the facility.
Let me ask you this way. When you talk about trip generation, you're talking about how many vehicles are coming to and from the site?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in going through your report, what is the methodology that you use to make an analysis of trip generation?
Typically, for traffic studies, we would make reference to the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual. Manual is a collection of several hundred studies or several hundred land uses which have been studied. Both of those studies have been analyzed statistically and are presented as basically the general rule for identifying the number of trips associated with it.
Now, the proposed use for the property, was that specifically listed as one of those uses in that report, in that resource for traffic studies?
Unfortunately, no.
So what did you use as a method of comparison of the proposed use?
So essentially, what the trip generation manual tells you to do, if they don't have data, is identify the scheduled activities at a facility. Identify the trips that would be coming in, coming out, and use that methodology to prepare an estimate.
And did you find a similar use that you could look to compare it to the proposed use?
Actually, we looked at a number of uses to compare it. We looked at the uses that were allowed by the ordinance, such as assisted living, single family use, a campground or recreational facility, a park, in its current use, a resort hotel. So each of those uses are included in the trip generation manual.
For purposes of assessing what the anticipated trip generation would be for the drug, alcohol, substance abuse treatment facility, do you use the assisted living facility?
To determine the number of trips for this use, no, we didn't use the assumption.
So how do you determine the number of proposed trips for this particular use?
Based on the schedule of activities and the employee shift, which was provided by the operator.
Okay, and did you come up with a determination of trip generation based upon those calculations?
I did, and that's included in the report of Schedule 1, which is on page 5.
Which is listed as schedule of activity, trip generation projections?
Correct.
Okay. And could you summarize for us what the trip generation activity for the proposed use would be?
Sure. The very top, section of this table basically identifies the Monday through Friday, activity expected on the site. This would be, the day shift, followed by, the other shifts. It also includes, patient intake, deliveries, outside services, things like trash, linen. On a daily, level of activity, there would be 45 vehicles, which would be 45 coming in, 45 going out, for a 24-hour period.
You also, I think you talked about Monday to Friday, you also assess the weekend.
Yes, looking at the schedule for activities on Saturday and Sunday, there were 38 vehicles total. That would be 38 trips in and 38 trips out over a 24-hour period.
Those trips, take into account, employees and deliveries and such?
Yes. Now, all the activity is on the site.
These trip generation figures anticipate that, residents are not on their own making trips in and out, correct?
That's correct.
Or they're not having their own personal vehicles there.
Correct.
Now, you mentioned that you, compared various, uses for, to show different trip generations, starting with the assisted living facility, which is a conditional use in that district, correct?
Correct.
And what was the, first, let me back up a second. The total, number of, trips, weekly trips for the proposed use was what?
So if I could refer you to table 2, which is on page 6, the very bottom row indicates that the ADT, that's average daily traffic, for the proposed use is 90 trips per day. That's the 45 in and 45 trips out per day.
Did you then, I'm sorry, I cut you off, you started to talk about the comparison to other uses such as the assisted living facility, correct?
Correct.
And was that the use that was in the manual?
It's labeled as ITE, Transportation Engineers, number 254.
And what was the average daily trips for that use?
156.
On table 2, the next use listed there is the single-family detached housing.
Correct.
And that also is a use for which there is data from the manual?
Correct. That's use number 210.
That presupposes 75 dwelling units, correct?
Correct. And that 75 dwelling units was based on the lot requirement and an estimate of what portion of the total site could be developed as lots. Obviously, you would have some portions of the roadways and other easements and such.
And what was the average daily trips based upon 75 dwelling units?
798.
Another permitted use on the site is campground recreational vehicle park, which is also a use listed in the manual.
That's correct. That is use number 416. There is an asterisk there behind the volume listed for the average daily traffic, which is 1,040. The asterisk is there, and you'll see that there's also notations related to the Saturday trip. There's limited data which is available in the ITE manual on use 416. We based it on 105.7 acres, being the size of the site. And again, the average daily traffic from that use is 1,040. Logically, that would seem a little bit on the high side. I would be skeptical in using that data.
The next use you have listed here is a public park. Again, there's a number after that, so I assume that's listed in the manual.
That's correct. And that had an average daily trip volume of 156.
Finally, we have the resort hotel, which is the current use of the property, correct?
Correct.
And that is a use also listed in the manual?
That's correct.
And that's use number 330? Correct. And you've based it upon the current number of rooms fully occupied at 30 rooms, correct?
Correct.
And the average daily trips for that use is what?
120. You'll see the asterisk there. There was some limitations on the data during the 24-hour ADT trips. There was very good data for the AM and the PM peak hours. And again, very limited data for the Saturday and the ITE.
Or, I'm sorry, for the Saturday?
The Saturday trips.
Referring back to the, that resort hotel use as compared to the proposed use, which is listed as Water Gap Wellness Center on table 2. Resort hotel is 120 average daily trips versus Water Gap Wellness is 90 average daily trips.
Correct.
Thank you. The figures that you've come up with there are not guesses on your part, correct?
Correct. They're calculated directly from information that's included in the appendix.
And the information in the appendix is excerpted from the report, from the manual?
Correct.
Those figures, are they used as recognized sources of information in the industry, in the engineering industry?
Yes, they are.
And specifically with respect to traffic studies and traffic reports?
Yes, they're the go-to source.
You use those typically when you're making reports for land use applications?
Correct.
And those are accepted again by others in the industry for the same purpose?
Yes.
The figures that you have reported as average daily trips, are they within reasonable standards for engineering?
Yes.
Based upon the figures that you have just testified to, with respect to a comparison of the proposed use versus the current use, what is your conclusion?
The proposed use versus the current use?
Yes.
It will generate, in general, less trips over a 24-hour period. In the AM peak hour, it generates 30 trips at the total of enter and exit trips, as compared to 11 trips from the resort hotel use. And the PM peak hour, again, it is 35 trips for the proposed use, 12 trips peak hour. And the Saturday trip estimate would be 24 for the resort hotel and 22 for the wellness center. They're very similar uses. Obviously, the traffic is spread out a little bit more with the resort hotel, recognizing that the proposed use has its traffic when there's a shift change. So it's a little bit more concentrated during that shift change. So less trips over a 24-hour period, but slightly more intense during the peak hour.
Making the same comparison, Mr. Cherry, between the proposed use, Water Gap Wellness Center, and a public park, what is your conclusion with respect to those two uses?
Again, over a 24-hour period, the public park would generate significantly more trips, 156 as compared to the 90 for the proposed use. And again, the peak hour trips for a public park are less than the proposed use, again, indicating a spreading of the trips over the 24-hour period.
And again, with respect to the single-family detached housing use versus Water Gap Wellness Center, what is your conclusion?
The single-family detached generates, in the PM peak hour, for instance, essentially twice the amount of traffic that you would expect from the Water Gap bonus.
And finally, with the assisted living use, which is a conditional use in the R1 zone, what is your conclusion with respect to the comparison between that and the Water Gap Wellness Center?
Again, slightly less trips would be associated with the assisted living during those peak hours, but a greater number of trips over the 24-hour period.
And when you're comparing 60 beds to 30 occupied rooms, is the assumption that the 30 occupied rooms for a resort hotel would translate to 60 beds for assisted living facilities?
That's correct.
Terry, you indicated also that you walked up and down Mountain Road and looked at the access points into this property. Mountain Road is the point of egress and ingress from the property, correct?
Correct.
Did you make any findings with respect to the Mountain Road as an access road into this property?
Yes, I believe it would be adequate for the level of traffic that would be associated with proposed use.
And that's based upon the figures that you were able to generate from the resources available to you for traffic and trip generation.
Correct.
At this point, I think I would offer what has been marked as, applicant's exhibit number 1 into evidence.
No objection. No objection, subject to cross-examination.
No objection.
And I have no further questions for Mr. Terry.
All right, counsel, any questions?
We have Marshall go first.
Okay, however you want to do it, fine with that, go ahead.
Mr. Terry, I'm doing this by Zoom. You stated that the use of the facility at the current time is a resort hotel?
That's correct.
And how are you aware of that?
I was told by the applicant's representative.
And did you do any independent investigation to determine if that was a true or false statement by your client?
I did not.
Now, from what I gather, there was no traffic count done here by you or any of your employees, correct?
That's correct.
All of the estimates that you've given us are based upon theory or books, reports.
They're
Correct.
based on other studies of this land use.
Not of a drug and alcohol facility.
Correct. That is based on the schedule that's been provided by the applicant.
And what did you do to verify the schedule that was provided by the applicant?
I have not verified that. I believe that was testified to by the applicant.
So you didn't do anything to verify it?
I myself, no.
Did any of your employees attempt to verify it?
No.
So again, what we have based on your testimony is what occurs in theory as opposed to the actual use on Mountain Road.
That would be correct. It's the actual use is the proposed use is not currently in operation.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
That would be correct since the proposed use is not in operation today.
I think we covered that. You relied on the information provided by your client that this was a resort hotel. Correct?
For the existing use, for the comparison, yes.
And does detox occur in a resort hotel?
Jack, that's beyond the scope of his testimony. It has nothing to do with what he has testified to in terms of traffic generation. I'm not sure.
It has to.
Mr. Anders, what would be the purpose of the question or the relevancy of the question?
He indicated that his analysis was done based upon a resort hotel, which is the operation of the facility at the present time, and he received that information from the applicant. If that information is faulty, then his report is faulty.
Well, and I think you've made that point, that he did not verify the schedules that he was given, he didn't independently investigate, so obviously that goes to the weight of his testimony, so that's understood, but what's the purpose of the question where you're saying whether, I don't even remember what it was, something about detox?
The purpose was just to further emphasize the lack of valid information given to the expert.
Okay, well, I think you've made that point, so we'll sustain the objection and move on.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Terry, can you, hear me in my masked condition?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
And Don, I assume you can.
I can, thank you.
Off the record, unfortunately, we can all hear him and me, so.
I'm not known for a soft voice necessarily. Mr. Terry, my name, as I think you know, is Peter Lehman. I represent a number of residents of Smithfield Township. Mr. Wolf took you through the investigation you did of the access points on Mountain Road to this facility. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you investigate access points to this facility from any other road?
I investigated that there are other connections that could be made through the street system.
What other connections were those?
I apologize, I don't have all the street names, right here in front of you with a map.
That's okay. I see you're looking at the map, which is page 9 of your report.
That's correct.
I will tell you there are two roads that are not listed on that map. I'm going to ask if you've had any familiarity with them. Wolf Hollow Road and Rolling Hills Road. Do those ring a bell?
I don't believe I looked at either of those roads.
Okay. So basically, your traffic study and all of the other information contained in your report doesn't deal with the suitability or usability of either Wolf Hollow Road or Rolling Hills Road, is that correct?
Correct.
And is that because you did not understand that they would be an access of any kind to this facility, either primary or secondary or emergency?
That's correct. My review of the site and having driven the road system adjacent to the site, I believe the Mountain Road would be the main access.
Okay. But specifically, you have no testimony and you submitted no evidence of the suitability of either of those roads for any kind of access to this facility.
Correct.
Fair enough. Let's go to your report itself. And it's interesting. Let me make sure I understand, and I'm going to table. Give me a moment to fumble through. I'm going to table 2, the trip generation summary on page 6. Now, I noticed that for some of the uses, you're evaluating it by dwelling units, and for some you're evaluating it by acreage. Is that correct? Campground and public park is by acreage, with the acreage being 105.7.
That's correct.
Where did you derive the figure of 105.7 acres?
I believe that was supplied by the applicant.
Okay. Were you here for the planning commission meeting?
Not the full meeting, no.
Okay. Were you here for the part where Mr. Wolf stated correctly that at previous hearings his client had made it clear that this use would be under a 40-acre lease?
I have heard that previously, yes.
Okay. So,
not at today's hearing, but I have heard that previously.
okay. So, if this use is going to be 40 acres, and if the entire parent tract is 105.7 acres, doesn't that mean that there's another 65.7 acres unaccounted for in this use, in the traffic generated by this use?
by the Water Gap Wellness Center?
If the Water Gap Wellness Center is on 40 acres, and the entire tract you were evaluating is 105 acres, doesn't that mean there's 65.7 acres that must be proposed for some other use?
It was my understanding that the entire site would be used for the Water Gap Wellness.
Even though you acknowledge that Water Gap Wellness, as itself said, the use is only going to be 40 acres.
That's correct.
Then how can the entire tract be used, of 105 acres be used, if it's only 40 acres that's being used?
The 105.7 acres was chosen because it is one of the additional uses within for this property. So I was trying to identify the maximum that could be generated if this were to be developed. Now, if this were developed in multiple phases, certainly the trip generation would be slightly different. Potentially access to it would be as well.
So put another way, you're accounting, when you're looking at campgrounds or public parks, for the entire 105.7 acres. But when you're looking at the, quotes, assisted living or drug and alcohol rehab, you're only accounting for 40 acres, and you're leaving out whatever extra traffic would exist because of the extra 65.7 acres. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
So isn't it correct that your study's incomplete because you've only evaluated less than 40% of the entire tract and left out the extra traffic generated by whatever other use that we do?
You're making a correct statement. Yes, I haven't looked at the potential dual use on the site.
Well, let's not talk even about potential dual use. You've driven up there. Are you aware that besides the resort hotel, there's another use there today?
There are other buildings there.
Have you noticed that there appears to be a golf course there?
I have seen the golf course, yes.
Okay. Did you make any attempt to add on to the trips per day for the drug and alcohol rehab center, the expected trips per day for, say, a 65.7 acre golf course? What's actually there?
I did not.
You did not.
I did not.
So you ignored the existing use. Did you have any knowledge that that extra 65.7 acres would suddenly vanish and not be used for any purpose and not generate any traffic?
I did not include it in this analysis.
So your analysis for the trips generated by the 40 acres doesn't include the other trips generated by the other 65 acres.
Correct.
But it does for the other uses that you've chosen, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, just so it's clear, the single-family detached housing, 75 dwelling units, what acreage did you use for that calculation?
That would be the 105 acres.
So that was 105 acres too. And the campground, of course, in public park already used the 105. Would it be fair to say that you might have done a more accurate calculation had you accounted for the other 65.7 acres?
My understanding and purpose that I prepared this comparison was not to consider any other future development of the remaining portions of the property.
But only for this use, because you considered the development of the entire property for the other prospective uses, didn't you?
For comparison, yes.
You wouldn't agree that that's a misleading comparison?
I would say I'm trying to be very honest and forthright in how I presented the data.
I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
When were you commissioned to do this work?
Originally, it would have been probably mid-2019.
And when did you receive the information from the files that's contained in table number 1?
Originally, that information would have been probably September 2019.
Okay. And your information was the inn was not open at that time?
Correct.
Okay. Do you
agree with me that the accuracy of your conclusions here is based in a substantial degree in the accuracy of the information you were given by the applicant as to the number of trips?
The number of employees and when they
Yeah.
trips, yes.
And the other information you have that Mr. Lehman just went over with you on table number 2, those come out of the studies that you referenced that are given credence by people like yourself when you do these studies, because they're based on experiences, I'm assuming, of other traffic engineers and other studies.
Yes.
Okay. But the information you got with regard to the Water Gap Wellness Center, that was just provided to you by the client, and you had to rely upon that, take that as true for purposes of doing your study, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I think, Mr. Anders may have asked you were not here for any of the, maybe you were, but were you here when there was testimony from residents in the community about the number of trips and traffic up and down Mountain Road?
I was not here for that.
Okay. Did you do anything to independently corroborate the information given you by the applicant about the number of trips?
No, I took him as face value.
Okay. And on the information that you were given indicates that there would be 24 employees, and you have that accounted for in the first part of the study, and then there would be 2 admissions and 2 discharges per day?
Correct.
Okay. And there would be only 2 deliveries from outside services per day?
Correct.
So if that information was not accurate, then your conclusions also are not accurate, correct?
Yes, I based everything on the information provided.
Okay. Were you ever asked to return to the inn after it opened to enhance your study?
No, I was not.
Okay. So all the work that you did was done in 2019?
No, I did an update to this. This was dated October 2020.
Okay.
And that update related to the number of rooms.
Okay. The information with regard to the trip generation on Schedule 1, that was all from 2019?
Correct.
Okay. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Wolf, do you have any questions?
Just a few redirects. You were asked about a couple of private roads, Wolf Hollow and Rolling Hills Road, and whether you had evaluated those roads as access points, correct? Correct. If those roads were private roads as opposed to public roads, would you consider those roads relevant in your report? In other words, private roads for which Water Gap did not have the right to use as access?
Objection. He's already testified he didn't evaluate them, so.
I've asked him whether he would consider them relevant if they were private roads.
Let me say this. Did your question, as Mr. Lehman said, that he did not evaluate these in his analysis, is your question, would he have evaluated them if they were non-private roads?
Correct.
All right, well, that's probably fair. I'll ask him that question.
So if Wolf Hollow Road and Rolling Hills Road were not private roads, would you have evaluated them as part of your report?
No, I would not have assumed that this use could be private road.
The 105.7 acres figure that you've used, that's the size for this entire tax parcel, correct?
Correct.
So in using that figure for two of the units specifically campground, recreational park, and public park, that's where that figure comes from.
Correct.
And also you use that figure for density on single-family detached houses.
Correct.
Is the reasoning for that if this entire parcel were developed, that's what generation could result, traffic generation would result from that?
That's correct.
The information was provided by the applicant respect to the proposed use was not on how many trips it would generate, but on how many individuals would be in this facility, 60 beds, the number of employees, correct?
Correct, it was based on the number of employees.
So did you use the number of employees and the number of maximum beds to derive the traffic generation numbers?
It's actually independent of the number of beds. It is related to, the employee trips as well as all the other services.
So the information you relied upon was not the applicant telling you how many trips they thought they would generate. It was how many employees they were going to have there and how many deliveries and whatnot.
Correct.
And you re-verified that information, actually with me within the last couple of weeks, correct?
Yes.
You were asked about the golf course, as an additional use on that property. First of all, the resort hotel use, does that incorporate, as opposed to just a general hotel, does the resort hotel use incorporate other traffic that a regular hotel would not?
That's correct, yes.
Anticipate certain amenities on the property?
Yes.
And as part of having those amenities, does it presuppose that resort hotel is going to have usage of guests, of patrons other than hotel guests? So they're not just staying on the property, they're actually coming in to use an amenity?
From the data that's available, it would be difficult to verify that.
And more importantly, if the golf course use were not continuing on the property, that would not be relevant in terms of generating traffic.
Correct.
The use for the inn, in other words, you, on your table 2 in your report, you're showing for resort hotel with 30 occupied rooms. That's not based upon, let me rephrase that, the number of trips generated as a result of a resort hotel use with 30 occupied rooms. That figure comes not from the applicant, but from the table, correct?
Correct.
In other words, the applicant didn't say, we have so many cars going in and out here every day, correct?
Correct.
And it presupposes full occupancy and full use and full utilization of a resort hotel with 30 units.
Correct.
So I have to Mr. Terry.
Any recross, gentlemen?
Not by me.
No.
I have one or two questions, if I might. Mr. Terry, you said that the data with respect to trip generation was not driven or related to the number of beds in the facility, though you did know that there was going to be 60 beds there.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, on table 1, where you have the trips, there's nothing in there about relating to the number of beds. On table 2, where you estimate the trip generation, that has nothing to do with the number of beds.
That's correct. That's based on the employee and the support services. Sure.
Okay, so you knew when you were reviewing the table number 1, that all that information came from the owner, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you knew there were 60 beds when you looked at that information.
Yes.
Did you question or have any dialogue with the owner about whether those numbers he gave you were reasonable in light of the fact that there were 60 beds at the facility?
Yes, I did.
For instance, it only shows 2 patients coming in per week, 2 patients leaving per week.
If you look, that's 2 patients leaving and entering per day.
Okay.
That's an average day you're looking at. It's not a full week's facility.
And the number of deliveries, that's on a daily basis, would be 2?
Correct.
Okay. Did you, after talking with your client, did you change or alter those numbers at all?
No, I did not.
Okay. And the last question I have for you, if a use is open and you're trying to do a similar study, as you're doing here, would it be appropriate to actually measure the numbers of trips in and out by actually observing vehicles coming in and out of the site as opposed to just relying upon what somebody's telling you?
Absolutely.
Okay. And if the use had been listed in the books that you relied upon, if the drug and alcohol had been listed, you would have relied on those numbers and not the numbers that the owner gave you, correct?
I certainly would have reviewed both, to try and understand whether his facility fit into the range of data that was provided.
Okay. I have nothing else, thank you.
Great. We're done with the attorney questioning. Does any questions by the board?
I just have one, and it's the situation with the outside deliveries, just 2 a day. I think that's understated. I probably should have been an observation of that.
And do you have a question of the engineer with that?
Only that, I feel that, to say just 2 a day is an understatement. And, your explanation for saying 2 a day, please. Again. Why did you say that there were only 2 deliveries a day? And then you list some of the services, but there's a heck of a lot more involved with it.
As I understand it, I identified a majority of who would be coming to this facility as a service.
How about the prescription and drug deliveries and that kind of stuff?
My understanding from the previous testimony is that was all handled by employees. By who? Employees of the facility.
Delivering prescription drugs?
Bringing medicine to and from the site.
Okay.
That was my
And
understanding.
where'd you get that information?
I believe I heard it in, one of the planning commission meetings, 2019.
I'll take a look, but I don't think so.
And an average of 2 per day. I've certainly studied, a number of, for instance, assisted living facilities. And while they probably do get 10 deliveries a week, it's, if you just spread them out, they don't get 5 in one day and the next day.
All right, any other questions?
That's all for me.
I'm reading from a similar conditional use that was granted because I'm curious about this question. Just mentioned in this particular case, which is not this case, it's another one, similar facility. Visitation is permitted. Visitors are limited to family members who may only visit on weekend at specific times, subject to the approval of therapist or counselor. We've never discussed this, but will there be weekend visitors here? And should that be accounted for in these statistics?
In table 1, it is actually included. If you look at the, weekend staff Saturday and Sunday, the, second to the last, row, indicates visitors limited to per hour between 11 and 3. And total of 10 trips.
And again, you were told that's the way it's going to be done. So it's going to be limited to 2 an hour, 2 visitors an hour, between 1 and 3, was it?
It says 11 a.m. and 3.
11 a.m. 3. Well, okay, again, we're going to be looking at a facility that's going to have, 50.
Now again, Mr. Chair, remember, that's how he developed that was his methodology in developing his opinion. This may not be accurate based upon further testimony or based upon further information that will come about. So just, keep that in mind.
Well, as an expert, sir, a facility of this type, wouldn't you expect, maybe a little bit more visitation from family and relatives, friends?
I have never, personally, I have never visited anyone at a drug rehab. I have talked to a number of people who manage them, and unfortunately, just like nursing homes, there aren't a whole lot of visits. A lot of people don't come in, and this is the experience that they hold.
Okay, and that's your professional opinion. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions by the board?
I have none.
All right, then.
But I had one question for Mr. Terry based upon.
That's fair, yeah, go ahead.
And just so it's clear, that your belief is that there was somewhere you heard testimony or you heard something from somebody saying that the employees were the ones that were gonna deliver the drugs to the facility?
That was my understanding.
Okay, you're not independently aware that there's been regular deliveries to a company called North Warren Pharmacy, who goes up and down Mountain Road 2 or 3 times a day to this facility? You're not aware of that? I'm not aware of that. If you were aware of that, would that change your, if that was factual and you were aware of that, would that change what you put in schedule number 1?
Yes, that would change the deliveries outside service, probably from 2 trips to 3 trips.
All right. Thank you, sir.
If I could, I have a couple follow-up questions too. Sir, it's Marshall Anders again. With regard to the deliveries, you don't know how many deliveries a day arrive at this facility, do you?
That was provided by the applicant, so that's where I have my knowledge from.
So, but you did not do anything to verify the accuracy of the information provided by the applicant.
That's correct.
And that would be the same with the number of visitors on Sundays, would it not? The information was provided by the applicant, and you didn't do anything to verify it?
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Chairman, I have a couple follow-up based on the,
Sure.
very briefly. Mr. Terry, there was questions about, what's going on now in terms of, or what's alleged to have been going on now in terms of delivery of to the facility. If those were taken at face value as actual deliveries that are happening per day, and were added to your table 2 trip generation summary, would the proposed use of Water Gap Wellness Center still generate less traffic than the figures for the current use of Resort Hotel?
Yes.
Okay, and the same for an assisted living facility?
Yes.
Thank you. There are also questions about studying what's actually going on at the property right now, that you are actually not studying what's going on there. Is that based upon the fact that this is not currently operating as a drug and alcohol treatment facility?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So if you were to go up there and study it right now, would that give you an accurate, study traffic as to what's going in and out of there now, would that give you an accurate indication of what the proposed use is versus the current use?
I don't believe so.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, gentlemen, we're not gonna go back and forth 10 times. It's direct, redirect, cross, and recross.
Absolutely recross.
Okay.
I have marked, and I think both Mr. Wolf and Mr. Karasek saw this at the Planning Commission meeting. Layman Exhibit 1. Mr. Terry, you stated your understanding was that this was not currently used as a drug and alcohol rehab center. Is that correct?
Yes.
Going to show you a letter from Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs dated October 8, 2020. And I'm going to represent to you, in fact, I'll read part of it into the record.
I'm going to object to this being read into the record. What's been handed to me by Mr. Lehman is a letter directed to PA Knights Homes LLC, addressed to 100 Plaza Court in East Stroudsburg, not addressed to the applicant. I don't think it's relevant to these proceedings.
Well, who it's addressed to is less important than what it says, and I will represent that what it says relates to a unlicensed substance abuse substance use disorder treatment facility at 288 Mountain Road, Delaware Water Gap.
This is, again, addressed to the operator of an off-site, drug and alcohol.
Located at 288 Mountain Road, Delaware Water Gap.
The letter can represent where it believes it's located. I'm saying it's not addressed to the applicant. The applicant, in this proceeding is.
Well, that,
You opened the door by asking, you opened the door by asking asking him whether it was his understanding there was no such facility operating at 288 Mountain Road or this location. You opened the door.
My question was regarding whether a residential treatment center is being operated at that site.
I don't see any difference between that and an unlicensed substance abuse disorder treatment facility at that site. I think it's relevant. I think you opened the door.
Let me say that based upon the fact that Mr. Terry stated that an actual traffic count, at least according to my notes, would not be helpful since the property was not being used as a drug and alcohol center, I believe that the letter is relevant for purposes of questioning his opinion regarding number of trips and nature of trips as opposed to what it may otherwise say with respect to PA Nice Homes. Further, it does state that the facility is located at 288 Mountain Road, Delaware Water Gap, PA. Again, I would like to have some foundation laid that the facility that we're talking about is located at 288 Mountain Road, Delaware Water Gap, PA. And if so, then I believe that the objection would be overruled.
Well,
You can ask Mr. Terry if he inspected the site, what address was it? Or if you have some other information from the other record, that works too.
let me start with that. Do you have anything in your information to the specific address of this site on Mountain Road?
I would have to look through my file, but I don't believe that I do. It would not surprise me if the address was 288.
Okay, I would look at refer everyone to the transcript of Tuesday, August 11th, 2020, and there is a next to that as an exhibit, Water Gap Wellness, 288 Mountain Road, P.O. Box 244, Delaware Water Gap, PA.
All right, so then,
With pictures next of the resort.
all right, so the board will accept that as being, establishing the background that the facility is at 228 Mountain Road. Now, ask your question.
Sure, and I'll confine it to what you directed. If there was, in fact, a unlicensed substance abuse disorder treatment facility at the location that is the subject of your report, would not have it been more appropriate for you to have monitored the traffic to and from that facility?
It would be important, yes.
Were you ever told that the facility was in use?
At the drug rehab facility, no.
Okay. Were you told that it was not in use as a drug rehab facility?
I don't remember exactly.
It did not.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how it was phrased as to what was being done. I know that it indicated that there were people staying in the facility and that they were being transported back and forth. I believe that's pretty much the limit of what I was told.
Okay. And approximately when were you told that?
I would say about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Had you completed your report before that time?
In the process of making my report.
Okay. So, based on that representation, did you believe you had to make any amendments to the report you were developing? But, as you've been aware, there was an unlicensed, well, let me quote accurately, an unlicensed substance abuse disorder treatment facility there. Would you have revised your report, and would it have been different?
I would have, recommended collecting data for the number of trips going in and out of the facility and including that in the report.
No further questions.
Mr. Lehman, you say you have Lehman number 1, has that been marked?
It was marked by me and I handed it to Dawn.
Okay.
She has to tell me if I marked it legibly.
Okay.
I would, I guess at this point, since it's, been used for cross, I'd offer it into evidence.
Objection by Mr. Wolf?
I believe that's already been overruled.
Well, for purposes of asking questions, do you object to it coming into the record?
I have an
My ruling
objection.
may be the same, but I mean, you have a right to make an objection as it's coming into the record.
Yeah,
as opposed to the-
based upon a lack of foundation here, I mean, this is a letter that they've received. I have no, indication of its authenticity, where it came from, who generated it. There's been no foundation laid in that respect.
All right, well, this is a hearing under the conditional use proceedings of the municipality's planning code, and evidence, even hearsay evidence, can be admitted unless it's not relevant or probative, based upon the questions that were used, and the questions that were based upon this report. It comes in, and of course, we understand it's subject to your objection, but it comes into the record at this point.
However, if Mr. Wolf wishes to see the email that attached this from the chief counsel of the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs, I'm happy to show it to him. It's on my cell phone.
It could be hearsay at this point, but people have admitted that the document.
Yeah, it's admitted, so. Do you have the original exhibit, Mr. Lehman?
The original.
Okay, Donna has it, that's fine. I just want to make sure Donna has that, because then they come to me.
But I will certainly provide.
You can provide one to the supervisors if you wish, but I don't need another one. As long as I have the original at the end of the hearing, that's all I need.
I'll leave it up to the board whether they would like to see it.
Well, yeah, this will be the first time we're gonna see it.
And anytime there's, an exhibit, I'd like to
Off the
see it.
record, yeah, they were not part of the planning commission meeting, which was introduced.
I'm looking at the date.
It is October 8th.
Yeah, and again, this is just coming before us.
You have different color from Mr. Lane.
No, that's it.
Oh, that's it.
He's taking my daughter. He's my assistant.
I had a magistrate hearing earlier this afternoon, so I guess, as you know, we have to mark the exhibits there, so I guess I went wild and put on his job.
Okay. If we have nothing further for, Terry,
I had one question based upon the response to Peter's question. I will be brief.
This is the last question.
You indicated, Mr. Terry, that I believe you were advised that people were being transported back and forth. Say that? Yes. Okay, who told you that? Our attorney. Yeah, back and forth from where to where? Didn't have that information. When you say they were being transported back and forth from the inn to somewhere else? Yes. But you don't know where that somewhere else was? Correct. And what was the purpose of them being transported, do you know that? I believe that they were staying overnight, and then being transported to any place in particular, or? I didn't need that detail, I didn't get that detail. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wolf, you have any other witnesses you wish to present? Again, we understand that all the other record is in, and it's not meant to rush your case. If for some reason it can't be done, well, I know the supervisors would like it to get done this evening, but
I would like.
it is what it is sometimes, so.
First of all, if we're done with Mr. Terry, I'd like to,
I don't believe the board has any reason for him to continue
Not at all.
to hear counsel. Mr. Lehman, Mr. Rory?
No
No
objection.
objection. No objection.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
For the record, although I know you would want to stay for this enthralling and hearing, I'm sure that you want to go, so go right ahead. But we'll wait for you to gather up your papers, and if you're good, then Mr. Wolf, you can begin if you have any other testimony.
I would like to, at this point, call Joe Schlim on a very brief, response on what the board had accepted as, layman exhibit 1.
All right, that's fair.
I'll swear you went against Chris, because it's been quite some time. You do solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And just so we're clear, this is, and again, it's not meant to stifle you, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but this is new testimony with respect to layman exhibit number 1. It's not something the board has heard before, correct?
Correct.
All right, go ahead.
State your name for the record.
Joseph Schlitter.
And Mr. Schlim, you're the principal for Water Gap Capital Partners?
Yes.
And you testified previously in this matter, in some length regarding this proposed use.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you this evening about what has recently been introduced as layman exhibit 1. Show that to you. Familiarize yourself with it. Do you have knowledge concerning substance of this letter from directed to PA Nice Homes LLC?
I do.
Okay. First of all, what is PA Nice Homes LLC?
PA Nice Homes is an outpatient treatment center located in East Stroudsburg.
It's located at 100 Plaza Court.
Correct.
And this letter from Jody Skiles, Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs, makes reference to a warning, correct?
Correct.
And are you familiar with the circumstances of that warning?
Yes.
Just briefly, what is the background that generated this letter?
Well, the warning was precipitated because there are people who stay at our inn who don't go to have treatment at the PA Nice Homes facility. And on occasions, if they don't get out of bed or don't want to go to treatment on time, apparently some of our therapists have gone and coaxed them to get out of bed and coaxed them to participate in the program and to transport themselves over to treatment.
When you say some of your employees have gone, have they? Is PA Nice Homes that's located at 100 Plaza Court?
Right, and that's, yeah, so PA Nice Homes employee has left East Stroudsburg to come and talk to their client and say, get up, you need treatment, and try to get them to go back, to go over to the treatment center. And the result of that, it's really a thin, fine line. It's an appealable situation, but it's a boundary situation where the patient is related to therapists from PA Nice Homes not coming to the end. So in fact,
Is that basically what this letter relates to?
that's all it relates to, yes.
And on how many instances did that occur, to your knowledge?
1 or 2, not many. And now what we've done, we have a remedy plan, and the best remedy, which is also instituted, is that no employees of PA Nice Homes and therapists, clinical employees of PA Nice Homes are permitted to come to the end at all.
If the Water Gap Wellness Facility is approved for the property in Smithfield Township located on Mountain Road, this treatment would all be taking place at the facility, at the Mountain Road location.
Correct. That would different level of treatment, and it would all happen. Those same clients, if they were in that level of treatment, would just reside at that property and can never leave that property.
That's all I have for Mr. Schlim with respect to Layman Exhibit 1. Okay, counsel?
Yes, Mr. Schlim, Marshall Landers. This was an inspection of the facility located, what you describe as the inn, correct?
No, we actually, the inspection was a DDAP inspection.
I'm sorry, what's the inspection?
DDAP, I'm sorry, Division of Drug and Alcohol Program.
and the Department of Health, they received a complaint from someone, and, so.
Sir,
it
could you
really
please
was an-
answer my question? Was this an inspection of the facility in question? Yes or no?
An inspection of PA Nice homes, and, because that's a licensed treatment provider.
Now will you
While
answer-
that is-
Answer my question. Was this an inspection of the facility we're here about?
No, it wasn't. It was an inspection of PA Nice homes.
Oh, they inspected the East Stroudsburg address then?
Yes, they did.
So isn't it true, sir, that your company kept Suboxone, Lozaprazepam, and Urivan at the facility we're talking about?
I don't
Did
know
they keep it there, yes or no?
specific-
Excuse me?
Which facility? I don't know. In regards to medications, because there's been a conversation about.
Sir, my question is very simple. Did they keep it there, yes or no?
Is who keep? We
Did the-
we as a facility, the inn, does not keep medication. The medications that are at the inn are in the possession of the client.
So they weren't distributed or administered by your employees, correct?
That is correct.
And so how many of the patients that were brought there brought with them lorazepam? That's Lorazepam. How many patients brought that with them?
I don't know.
How many of the patients brought Orvan?
The question is basically outside of the scope of my direct examination. My direct examination related to the circumstances of this letter, which does not talk about dispensing drugs.
It talks about the storage of drugs, and besides that, he's a party, a representative of a party. So when you put him up there, and you know this, Mr. Wolf, he's subject to cross-examination, a broad cross-examination.
Based on the line of direct examination, yes.
No, that's not correct. How many patients bring their Ativan to the facility?
Now, I heard someone prompting Mr. Anders. That's not going to occur. If we're going to have prompting going on, then this line of questioning by Mr. Anders will be terminated. He is a skilled, intelligent attorney and can ask his own questions. He does not need to be prompted. At this point, I will overrule the objection so that Mr. Anders can ask another question or two about that. But other than that, I will agree that this would be on the scope of direct. But I'll let him ask another couple of questions on that issue.
How many patients bring their own Ativan with them?
I don't know how many patients bring Ativan. I don't know.
How many patients bring their own Subizon? That's S-U-B-O-X.
Say that again, Marshall?
S-U-B-O-X-O-N-E.
I don't know what medications people bring, but because it's their own personal responsibility to be in charge of their medications. As an inn, just like any hotel, we try to safeguard. Okay, so I don't know the specific answer.
Mr. Karasek, I'm confused here. This letter doesn't seem to say anything about drugs being carried anywhere. Why are we listening to this questioning?
Well, I think we can let him ask one or two questions, but I think we're pretty much done at this point.
Well, but the questions were relevant to this letter, are they not?
Well, they're relevant to what Mr. Anders believes is proper cross-examination, but as I said, I think it goes beyond the scope of direct, and that we allow him a couple extra questions and then we move on. So, and if the applicant would simply answer the question, I think we would move along a lot quicker rather than just having to rationalize every question he gets.
I have no further questions. I have no further questions.
I have a couple.
Mr. Schlimm, in answer to one of Mr. Wolf's questions, you said something about our therapists were getting the people out of bed. By our therapists, did you mean therapists employed by PA Nice Homes? Correct. Okay. So from that, would I be correct in assuming that you have some membership interest or ownership interest in PA Nice Homes? I do. Okay. And PA Nice Homes operates and is licensed at the Plaza Court address in East Stroudsburg, correct? Correct. Now, you mentioned also in answer to Mr. Wolf's question that the letter was generated as a result of inspection at PA Nice Homes. Is that correct? That is correct. By, I think you said the Department of DDAP and also, I think you said the Department of Health. Would it have actually been the Office of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services? Right. Okay. I'm going to show you what I've marked, hopefully legibly, and given to the stenographer as Layman Exhibit 2. Is that the inspection report? I'm sorry, your lawyer has it right now. Okay. Is that the inspection report? We're here today. Okay, you've seen it before, I assume. Not in this format, but yes. Okay. And the observation states.
Object to any reading off of this letter for the same basis, the objection I previously stated with respect to the, the October 8th letter directed to PA Nice Homes.
Well, again, he opened the door. He testified that the earlier letter was generated as a result of inspection at PA Nice Homes, which he apparently has some ownership interest in. So that he raised the issue, he didn't have to he's told me it appears to be a true and correct copy.
I'm objecting to the document that you're asking him to read from.
And the basis
Which
of
he's
that
already-
objection, again, is Mr. Wolf.
Well, again, there's no foundation for this. There's, it's hearsay which you're gonna overrule, I understand, but there's no foundation on this document.
He's just authenticated. He said it appears to be the report he testified to earlier.
Tell the board what relevance this has to the, layman one that you've introduced into evidence and or any testimony that we've heard.
Well, the relevance to layman one was established by Mr. Schlimm's own testimony when he said the layman one was generated as a result of an inspection. And this is the inspection report from the inspection. He mentioned the inspection. I have a right to ask him about the inspection. He's identified this as the report generated by the inspection. It's therefore within the scope, clearly within the scope of cross because it was discussed on direct. I will agree that this facility, this inspection report relates to the facility of PA Nice Homes at Plaza Court in East Stroudsburg. But I wasn't the one that brought up an inspection.
So tell me how an inspection of PA Nice Homes in Stroudsburg is relevant to this particular conditional use proceedings for a project at, the Delaware Water Gap Hotel Resort area.
Because the inspection states, and Mr. Wolf will object, but the last paragraph on the left-hand column relates to finds the violation that the project clinical staff are on-site at a location which is not licensed by the department, and the clinical services are provided at that location. And we've established that that location, by Mr. Schlimm's own testimony, is this location.
So doesn't that mean, and again, it's not meant to steal your thunder, but doesn't that mean exactly what Mr. Schlimm said, that his employees or therapists from PA Nice Homes were going to the hotel to get people up and say, get up, go to treatment, get going, et cetera? Isn't that what this is saying? That they were providing get-up services, if you will, at the hotel?
It does not say get-up services, it says clinical services.
I am saying that, but that's basically what we're saying, correct?
Correct. But it's additional evidence.
We will allow the layman two to come in, but we're not gonna ask any questions about it. Next question.
Well, I have a question based on what you just said. This is a conditional use hearing. It's about approving or disapproving a conditional use for a treatment center at, 288 Mountain Road, whatever it is. Why are we discussing endlessly this use as a hotel? I mean, it may be an illegitimate use as a hotel. Fine, go sue them. But what does it have to do with a conditional use hearing for another use here? I think we should be moving forward to what we can put in as conditions for a possible conditional use. But why are we dwelling on this?
I think it shows that the applicant does not follow the law, does not follow the rules, and that's certainly relevant in granting or denying a conditional use.
Well,
And
if you think that, why don't you bring it action?
In addition, it shows that they have drugs or uses at a facility in a residential zone that you people put there knowing it was residential. And that endangers the welfare of the residents of Delaware Water Gap and is certainly relevant to a conditional use hearing.
This is not a time for you making speeches.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Karasek's already ruled, I can't ask any more questions about this.
We ruled there's no questions on it, Mr. Wilson.
So
He's gotta
I
move
have
on.
no more thoughts from Mr. Schmidt. I have nothing else.
All right, do you have any redirect? Okay, does the board have any questions of Mr. Schlim on what he's testified to? Okay.
No.
All right, Mr. Wolf, any additional witnesses on your behalf?
I do not have any additional witnesses. I would reserve the right to rebuttal based upon
Okay.
witnesses that may be presented by, counsel of the objection.
Fair enough, good. All right, and that being said, we'll move on to the, other side of the, aisle, if you will. I'm not sure what you gentlemen want to do by way of witnesses or who's going first, who's going second, but we'll follow your lead in that regard.
I believe Marshall has no witnesses, so I'll stand corrected.
That's correct.
Okay. I have one witness, Mr. Karasak, and I guess I would, continue to go first. My witness is Fred Rich.
Raise your right hand, you do solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can pull up that sheet.
Now, Brad, you've already been, identified as a party, and as Mr. Karasak said, everyone who's a party to the earlier proceedings is a party to this proceeding. So I'm not going to go into lengthy questions about standing, but I am going to ask you to remind everybody where you live.
119 Wolf Road.
Okay. And where is that in relation to the 105 acres that Mr. Carey related to as the total size of the former resort, or current resort, or whatever it is?
Right off there's a maintenance shed, it's an access road, partially related through an easement on my property, right off the old second green, in between the second green and the third green, old second green and third.
So put another way, does your house back up onto the golf course?
Yes.
And part of this property? And put another way, is Wolf Hollow a non-township development road?
I believe it's not.
Okay. But is it a gated road?
No.
Okay, so anyone can drive on it?
Yeah, he's asking for a legal conclusion from this witness.
I'll
Legal standard as to what the status of the roadway is.
I'll withdraw everything but my question as to whether it was gated, which he's testified to. Is there any obstruction that would stop anybody from walking or driving on?
No.
Okay, now, where does Wolf Hollow intersect with Fox Gap Road?
Yes.
And if you follow it back, where does it go?
Well, it's a one-way from Top Gap, so you only let it go into Wolf Hollow towards the golf course.
Okay. Does it intersect with another road?
Rolling Hill Road.
Okay. And is your house at the intersection of Rolling Hills and Wolf Hollow?
Yes.
And you mentioned an easement. Does the paved portion of Wolf Hollow continue beyond Rolling Hills
Yes.
to the golf course proper?
Yes, all the way up to the top of Wolf Hollow, which is probably the edge of the golf.
Okay. Have you observed that access
Mount Wolf Hollow to the golf course being used by emergency vehicles?
Yes.
When and how?
Well, most recently, fire trucks, they use Wolf Hollow, but then they turn onto a dirt road, which is an easement, there's a drainage easement,
On your
on
property?
my property, yes.
And that goes into the golf course?
Yes, so it's behind the maintenance shed, and they disappear. There's been 3 ambulances in the last month, at least 3 that, that we saw. And then obviously the fire trucks this weekend, which I'm not sure why, but looks like there was a fire, and they all go, I don't know why, they don't go down Mountain Road, but they go up Wolf Hollow and up to a dirt road, which is on my property.
And do you know where they go from there?
I I can see the flashing lights, it goes behind the maintenance shed. I guess there's an access road, it's a vineyard access road up to the.
Does it head towards the hotel?
Yeah.
Or the proposed treatment center?
Yeah.
Okay. But in all honesty, and you see if it actually goes there?
No.
I'm objecting to the relevance to this at this point. I mean, he's testified that as the emergency vehicle is going up on an access road that the applicant has not testified as using for as a means of access into the property. So I'm not sure, how this is relevant to the proposed use. And we've never indicated we were planning on using Wolf Hollow Road or Rolling Hills Road as an access into the property.
If you're willing to, agree to a condition that that access road will not be an access road, and perhaps I don't need to ask the question.
I believe we've maintained all along that those are private roads.
So is that a no, Mr. Moore?
Is that a no that, rephrase your question, I'm sorry.
There are private roads for which the golf course may or may not have an easement. The question is, first off, Mr. Terry testified he did not consider this roads. My client has testified they are being used as an emergency access. 3 times with ambulances.
By someone other than the applicant. By someone other than the applicant. In other words, you have outside, emergency services coming into those roads. We don't know where they're going. I'm just questioning what the relevance is.
Point of order, please. I can tell you as a golfer, that's the golf cart paths that they're using. And also the tractors to mow the grass and so forth. So it's not designated as a road once you get off the macadam, but it is related to the golf course for moving equipment.
So if it's happening, it is relevant as to whether a condition, if this board was to grant conditional approval, would be that it not be used as an emergency access, which presumably would be under the applicant's control.
I don't know if the applicant can, I don't know if the applicant can prevent other people from using the access, but if you're asking, is the applicant going to not use this access, that's a different question. I'm not sure where you are with that.
Well, the applicant would have control over whether people enter their property. And we're asking that a condition be, it would not be an unusual condition that this not be an access for emergency vehicles or for cars or for anything other than possibly golf.
As I said, there's nothing in this application from the beginning indicating that there was any intention of using either Wolf Hollow or Rolling Hills Road as a means to access this project. That's a concern that Mr. Chrysler has.
We have a concern because it's happening.
Ron, could I ask a question?
Personally has with respect to his property location.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, about emergency vehicles. I mean, don't they determine for the most part, which access is the easiest for them? I mean, how are we supposed to ask the applicant to regulate the EMS or the fire department?
The main road is a dirt road on my property, and it is affecting my life because it's waking up, the ambulance is waking up my pregnant fiance 3 times in the last month. I'm thinking it's happening.
That's not true.
It is true.
It would be an extremely appropriate condition that the only approved access would be on the road, and the emergency vehicles can be in front.
5:15 a.m., Mr. Schlim, ripping up my road.
Do we know who the emergency vehicles are?
I mean, can I ask something though? I mean,
You want video?
All right, can
Do you
I
know what fire company, is it ambulance or who is it?
Ambulance, fire truck this weekend, two of them. Fire company, the ambulance couldn't even find the access road. One time at 5:15 a.m., the driver was screaming. I actually opened the door, someone was sick or something happened at Dawn's house.
If it's fire trucks, would it be Delaware Water Gap?
It was done one this weekend, yes, that was this weekend.
If you don't mind me asking, why wouldn't you direct your concern about emergency vehicles using the access road to the emergency services instead of the
We were going up to, a resort.
Well,
I mean, did you not testify that you did not know where all these were going? I'm just trying to.
He testified he could not see as far as the resort.
Okay.
That's on his testimony.
Okay.
He also testified there's no logical other place for them to have gone, but that's a logical, educated assumption. But the point is, this is a conditional use here. This is where conditions are placed. Access and, it's not, with subdivisions, it's not unusual to have a controlled emergency access. With other developments, it's not unusual. It would not be unusual to have a condition on the developer. This could be gated. There could be things done to prevent this being used as an access. It has never been reviewed by the traffic engineer. And Mr. Wolf is correct. There's been no direct statement that they were going to use it as an emergency access. So why don't they agree that it won't be used?
So let's do this. There's still an objection on the record from Mr. Wolf asking as to the relevancy of this. Based upon the discussions that have just occurred, testimony from, Mr. Richler, interjection by former mayor of Delaware Water Gap, I believe this has been discussed enough that the objection is sustained. Next question.
Sure. I'd like to just ask you one question. You mentioned that golf carts and golf maintenance equipment uses this road. Have you given them an easement? This is your property?
The name is for drainage. At some point, there was a road put on there, but as far as my attorney would say, I believe it's just for drainage. There's no ingress egress on there. Is that correct?
That's my reading of it, and we might pursue that through other. But since this just happened this weekend, it seems certainly relevant to bring up at this conditional use. Mr. Richler, have you also observed guests at the hotel coming down Wolf Hollow, walking around?
Jack, again, on the relevance, this is based upon usage of the property as a hotel, not as appropriate subject for use of the property as a drug, alcohol, substance abuse treatment facility. This is based upon experience of a use that is different than the proposed use, so I'm not sure how it's relevant.
Let me have him finish the question, and then we'll see where we go. Okay. I would probably agree with you, but let me finish the question so that.
What behavior have you observed over the past summer months from these individuals?
Just hold on for 1 second. When you say these individuals, give me a little bit more meat on the bones there.
Sure.
Mr. Lakeman. What are we talking about?
Individuals coming from what's been identified as the unlicensed.
Coming from the hotel area.
Hotel area.
Okay.
And if I could, I'd like to also add in my objection that we've been admonished from rehashing testimony that has previously been put out in these proceedings. There was a lot of this testimony which I objected to previously, as to activities on the property while it's been used as an inn, versus the inquiry that we are here for, which is, the impact of the proposed use as a drug, alcohol, and substance abuse.
Well, Mr. Wolf is correct, although it was not by Mr. Rinchler. I have had his fiance testify at the hearing in the summer. So rather than have him fortify her testimony, I won't ask him any more questions about that. That's at pages 90 through 99 of the August 11th transcript.
What are those pages again?
Starts at page 90, Ron. I stop at 98, and then Mr. Wolf has crossed
9299.
And that's the August 11th?
August 11th, 2020.
And who was that testimony
That
of?
was Nicole Gibbons, who,
Okay, got it.
okay. So I have no more questions, Mr.
Any questions, Mr.?
No.
Okay, any, redirect? Okay, any questions by the board? Hearing none, all right, then,
Oh, I should say, I would move layman too.
and I think that we said that we'll accept that into evidence, you just can't ask any questions about it.
That's what you said.
And I believe that's over the objection of Mr. Wolf.
And I did give you a copy last?
I do, I think I do, we'll see at the end of the hearing here what I have and what I don't have, so. All right, any other witnesses?
Not by me.
Mr. Karasak,
Yes.
I believe I misspoke before.
Okay.
I don't have any witnesses, but as you recall, I forwarded correspondence to you, requesting that you subpoena the Board of Supervisors to bring to the hearing tonight the private investigator's report, which I would intend to introduce into evidence.
Yes, and, well, that report is obviously in possession of the supervisors. However, on my recommendation, that cannot be introduced into the record this evening. Under the Pennsylvania Open Records Law, Section 708B, I believe 17, and that's from memory, I don't have it in front of me. An investigation by a township, private civil investigation, is not subject to disclosure. Now, that being said, because I do not want to be obstreperous, on Monday, we have a hearing before the Common Pleas Court on a motion to allow additional evidentiary information and to enlarge the briefing schedule in the land use appeal that was filed to the decision of the township supervisors in granting the landowner curative zoning amendment. And in that petition, you are asking for that private investigator report. If the judge rules that that private investigator report is subject to disclosure, it will then be disclosed.
I have a question about that report. First of all, I think the curiosity about this is greater than the product. I'll say that. And I wonder if this was privately allowed to be seen by the attorneys here, would that satisfy their curiosity? Because there's a HIPAA question here too, because it shows individuals who are under treatment. So if it's introduced in the record, that becomes public, and I don't think we can do that.
I think your request for an in-camera inspection of the report is probably a good one. These are all reputable attorneys with whom we are dealing here in this matter.
Yeah, I remember.
My concern is that if we make that call and there's something disclosed without a court order telling you to do that, now, again, understand a subpoena is a court order, but it's not the same as an order from a common pleas judge, if you will, because the order is your own order to yourselves to produce this. I'm just very reluctant to do that. If Judge Zulik says they're entitled to that report, then we have to comply with that order and they will get it. But I'm not in a position to recommend that you do that now without some protection from a court order.
And Ron, let me just say that,
But I think the in-camera review is a good idea. And maybe that we can propose that to Zulik, but I don't want to do that right now.
I will comment that.
In all due respect to yourself, yeah, and attorney.
Thank you.
And attorney
Listen,
Anders.
you're gonna be in court on, next week, correct?
Yes.
So I said that, if this is brought before the judge, Attorney Farrar, are you gonna be at that, particular?
God willing.
God willing, yeah, if we stay here long enough, it's questionable for all of us. But I guess, so, as Ron, as you suggested, let it go there, and if the judge rules it, you've got it, okay? Or if he rules that we can edit it or whatever, we'll go by that. move on what happens the next week.
I have a question for Mr. Karasek. If the judge would rule that it has to be produced, will it be made part of the record in this proceeding?
Yes, obviously, because Attorney Anders requested that it be subpoenaed into these proceedings, and it will be made part of the record in this case.
Okay.
And as I commented to Mr. Fry last session here, once he may get the chance to see this, he will be very happy he has a Netflix subscription.
Ron, can I ask though, that footage, the report, Robert's, disclosure about, the potential for a HIPAA disclosure, I mean, wouldn't that still stand though, if you had to make it part of the record?
That may well be, but if a common pleas judge tells this board to release that report, and that judge has the authority over this board, you release it.
Sure.
And it's up for whoever wants to make a claim, but I think at that point, the township's protected because it's complied with the court order.
Sure.
Oh, so let's let it play out.
Oh, yeah, of course, I wanna let it play out.
Well, again, if the board, and we'll follow up on Mr. Lobenheim's suggestion, if the board says, look, give the report to the attorneys, I'll send it to them. I don't do it now because Mr. Anders is by Zoom. By mail tomorrow, they can look at it, but as long as they don't release any information from it, if they make that representation on the record and the board is willing to do that, I'm okay with that. As long as any of the information in that report is not released and waited until the judge determines on Monday whether or not any of that report should be made public.
And
I'm okay
would that
with that
include the
if the
video?
board wants to do that.
Would that include the video also that was part of
The video really is so.
Well, that's for the HIPAA.
Flavors, but I guess,
And that's my only concern.
The HIPAA, that would be the only, instance where
Well,
HIPAA may apply.
I can say that if you decide to do the in-camera review, it could be we look at it and say that we don't need it to be part of the record. So that may say everybody's agreed.
So the board, if you want to decide now that we'll release the report upon representation that the attorneys will keep the information private, they will not release it to anyone else, and the issue of release to any members of the public, and that includes their clients, is left for Monday's hearing before Judge, Zulik, and that's it. And if Judge Zulik says, no, it can't be released, then, okay, it can't be released, then the question becomes is, can it still be made part of the record? Well, that'll be something the
Ron,
judge
the
will
only
decide.
potential problem is, I don't know that Judge Luke is to make that ruling.
Well, that's my concern too, but again, I think the township, supervisors, especially with Mr. Lobenheim, and I don't mean to single him out, but he's the one that says, well, can't we do something and get the report to them? I'm trying to somehow do that, but by the same way protecting the township, though.
Right, I mean,
So maybe it's better just wait till Monday and see what happens.
I think that makes common sense.
That's up to the board to make the call.
I mean, I like that. I also am not opposed to sort of what you said, the in-camera viewing, but I would, posit that it would have to be by just the attorneys and not their staff or assistants or anyone else.
No, it's just by the attorneys, no client.
I think they should see the video as well, though.
Okay, well,
Yes.
that
Get the whole show.
And that can be part of that. I mean, if the commission believes, or the board believes that's the case, that could be done too. I don't know if that's on DVD or not. I just don't
DVD.
remember.
It's DVD.
Is it? Okay.
High def.
I
All right,
definitely don't.
so let's,
It's not identical.
all right, so is there anything that the board wants to do with this now, or we want to wait to see what Judge Zulik wants to do?
I'm in favor of releasing it. I'll leave it to my fellow board members here.
I'll go along with that, including the video.
In camera, right?
Yeah.
In camera. So I need a statement on the record from each of the attorneys that they will not disclose the information in that report.
Now, this is the video and the written report.
Well, I don't have
They
enough
go together.
ability to give them DVDs. I don't have that capability.
So that would have to be in here.
I can certainly send a report that they will not release the information of that report to their clients, to any member of the public, or anyone unless so directed by, Judge Zulik.
And you have to promise to sit through all of it.
So agreed.
This includes Mr. Wolf too, that he'd be able to.
I certainly agree with
But you
that.
can fast forward.
So we have an agreement by all counsel here in the court.
Yes.
All right, then tomorrow I will
send to you a copy of that report, so you have it in hand. And as to the DVD, you're left to your own devices with Mr. Lovenheim and the crew as to, and Mr. Barrett as to seeing the DVD, so.
We figured it out once we could figure it out. Again, we would have to, invite you to come, socially distanced. It'll be in here.
Okay.
That might be the best way. We can duplicate it, can't we? Send it out?
Yeah, you can duplicate and send it out too, but I'd rather have the viewing just at one spot, because, DVDs, who knows what happens, so. But that's your call. If you wanna copy it and make a copy for Mr. Anders,
No, ideally what we could do then is set some time aside for for you gentlemen, Attorney Anders also, and we'll get it hooked up, and we'll run the whole thing. And as Robert suggested, fast forward's not gonna be right. I think you're gonna see there's a lot of, 1 second, please. So, we're sitting here on Wednesday. Ron, you're gonna be in court Monday?
yeah.
Can you make some time Thursday or Friday? Oh, God.
You want to go off the record while we start up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't have my schedule with me, but from memory, Friday, yeah, I did it Friday. Are we talking Friday a week for this Friday?
No, this Friday. I'd probably like to get this done. You look at it even before we go before Judge Zillig.
Let me look. How long is it? 2 hours.
No,
But you can say it forward.
no, he exaggerates.
You will.
It's not quite 2 hours long.
No, 2 hours.
It feels like 2 hours.
Well, I just got clients' conferences and witness preps, which I could move around, so it's worth the time.
Well, they're gonna status conference, telephone status conference at 3 o'clock on.
How about, is it possible to do it at noon? Yes.
Sure. Jacob?
On which day? At noon?
Friday the 4th, yeah, at noon.
Okay.
We don't have anything to it.
No, there's nothing on it.
Thank you. So it's gonna include, Attorney Ferrari?
Attorney Lehman, Attorney Anders, and Attorney Wolf.
And Attorney
I
Wolf.
probably will not be here because I've seen it already, but I think I have to be in court on another matter, I think.
Oh, sure.
You're excused.
He'll do anything not to see it again. Okay. All right, so then noon, and that'll be it. No one else will be here this year.
Donna, do you have to leave?
And what's are we getting close?
In 10 minutes, we have to see if there's any additional testimony, if any members of the public have to say anything.
I don't know if I have witnesses, we're not gonna finish in 10 minutes, and, I leave it up to you whether you want me to do something now with the 8 or 9 minutes we have, or you want to just adjourn to another day.
Why don't we do it now?
Well, if he's saying you're not gonna complete it anyway, is that true?
No,
You'll not get it in? So,
Yeah, if we only have 9 or 8 minutes to actually have a transcription, then
yeah.
Are these
say let's
local
take it to the
residents
date.
with experiences?
There's Mr. Conway is here, the gentleman in the back, and, I may have a former employee of Mr. Schlimm's companies who would testify, and I would plan on calling Mr. Schlimm as the cross-examination.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, this would be new testimony. It would not be
It's new testimony.
testimony that's rehashing what's already been heard.
I'm more than sensitive to your admonition, Mr. Parasite.
And, sir, I'm sorry, I'll get back to you.
Nothing to do with this. That DVD, I have a machine, copy 10 DVDs at one time.
You're not letting that DVD go to anyone to get copies, except to me.
No, but the
Well,
point being is,
that won't be your call.
you like to come along and put it in.
I don't want the DVD going to anyone's possession other than the board or myself. I understand your offer, and it's very well much appreciated, but I can't do that.
And we've settled it on Friday at noon. We'll have our showing.
Okay, so we're gonna look at the report too, right?
Yes.
Oh, you're gonna get a copy, Ron, you said you're gonna email it to
I'm
me.
on-
Yes, I will send it to you guys
sometime later, just to see.
Tomorrow, Ron.
tomorrow
Hear
via
from Mr.
email.
Winsler and Nicole Gibbons and the Freddie Campbell again, just in terms of their particular problems.
Yeah, like you said the names again, I'm sorry.
Mr. Winsler,
Okay.
Nicole Gibbons, is that the name?
Yes.
And Freddie Campbell,
Okay.
and, I think, Mr. Andrews' wife, but we can just get her. But they've made specific complaints, and we'd like to address them.
Good. Fine.
All right, so, do we set another meeting night tonight, or do you want to
Let's see what
decide that
happens
and,
Monday.
do you think?
Let's get this out, get the investigative report out, go to trial Monday, 9:00 in the morning.
It's just a trial, not a trial, it's just a
Not
hearing.
a trial, yeah.
How about next Wednesday?
If you're gonna do it next Wednesday, if you adopt it tonight, then I don't need to re-advertise, because you're telling tonight when it's gonna be on.
You won't be available on Wednesday.
Tuesday night.
Okay.
Now, Wednesday, we have a work session, and it's gonna be, we have.
Depending on everything, it's 4:00, depending on how long, just leave me out of it.
All right.
I mean, you know, and it's not meant to be left-handed comment to our very capable and loyal center, but I can call someone else if you want to do it
I
next
can
Wednesday.
get it covered, I'll get it covered.
Oh, okay, you can get
So
it covered.
we're
Maybe
saying
the tank
next
over.
Wednesday?
Well, we got something going on, we have a public, hearing Wednesday about the fire company and the resolution and the acting of it, and that's scheduled for Wednesday, but that's the work session. And there's, one or two other things that are gonna be on that agenda. We're not gonna meet on, the Shawnee Valley PRD annual.
It'll take 10 minutes.
Well, I told them we're gonna do Zoom. Did you get my
Yeah,
message
Zoom.
on Zoom? Okay, good. All right, so,
I think we could,
hopefully we can get it in then. Yeah.
all right, let's say Wednesday, because then you can advertise.
Wednesday, the 9th,
Get through the fire.
at 4 P.M.
Yeah.
At 4 PM, same
And
time.
Donna, if she can make it, fine, if not, she will get someone to cover.
All right.
All right, so someone make a motion to close this public hearing, and then a motion to reschedule the next hearing, then we'll let everyone leave unless they want to stay for the rest of the meeting, and then you can get into the.
Which is gonna be another hour, so.
Yeah.
Easy, got 13 items on it.
I'll move that we close the current public hearing at 6:25 and advertise the next one for 4 PM.
We don't have to advertise it.
Yeah, we don't have to, just reschedule it.
I'll reschedule it for, the December 9th at 4 PM.
4 PM.
And then we have a
I'll
second.
second that. Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so next
Yeah, thank you.
Wednesday then, and then that will give you an opportunity, if in fact, when I say you, the council, if in fact Judge Ruler says, yeah, you can question it, you can talk about it, whatever, the PI report, you'll have that opportunity to do that.
Is a parental advisory in order, or is it?
Let me tell you, in all due respect, it is so there is nothing there, unless I am wrong, I don't see where there is anything for either side, but.
Yeah, it made me wanna throw up, but not from actually what was on it, just how it was conducted.
So.
Now I just knocked myself, it was.
I don't see anything.
It doesn't stop. Okay, let's continue our meeting.
Where's Robert? Let them get out of here first, so that.
Well, I'll make that call, Ron. Okay, because I want to get out of here too. You got a lot. Huh?
Brian, can I say that you always look so nice, Brian, when you come to speak, really with the shirt and the tie and the sweater and stuff.
What's with
Well,
that?
well,
That's
nothing
over.
is kind of like,
Oh, my God.
so, it's always. Probably is.
Yes, 'cause we, didn't take a, break, but now they know how much you guys like each other.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. I have all the exhibits, Donna, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, the Peter did give you a latest too.
Yeah, and I got to leave it too.
Yeah.
Lake Shore, Layman 1?
Yeah.
Yes, and Layman 2, got it. Got it.
Oh, the gentleman that testified? That was Bradley Rensselaer.
Okay, where's the rest of this agenda?
Nicole Gibbons, I don't know him personally, no.
red A. Actually,
I think that's the first, because it's,
His fiance, yeah.
okay, we got minutes.
Should we wait for Robert to return before we?
Yeah, we got a quorum. No, we will. But I don't think he's gonna be involved with the minutes of November 28th, 2020. Thank you, Donna. Thank you
want me to
very much.
walk out with you, or you okay?
Thank
You sure?
You think we're just in here?
No, I'm talking about other groups that are
I
out.
would be.
I'm sure there's plenty of people out there, I'll just say.
Okay.
Amen. The mask is off, look out.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna.
Yeah. I thought we'd get that through and not have to another one. This is killing us money-wise.
Have to try to keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
John, you had a lot to say during this, and it was really valuable.
Well, I thought you would like that. Actually, I kept it shorter for you.
Yes, you did. But maybe you'll come into play on the second half,
Well, we'll see.
Well,
second two-thirds of the agenda.
we have to get into, all kinds of questions of sewers and stormwater and capacities and what happens to,
If you look at the one for Middle Smithfield, they really did a very thorough job. Landscaping, buffers, water, sewer, parking, number of employees, how you take care of security,
and most of it is very relevant to what was said by the.
It was very relevant, it's very,
The planning commission, we're gonna have minutes for that then?
yeah,
because-
I'll do the minutes.
Really? Okay, good, because, what do they have, about 5 conditions, or?
No, they had about 17.
Oh,
Well,
They had 12 when they were here, or they had 14 in November of last year, and then they added another 5 tonight. So there's about 17, 18 conditions.
okay.
most of them are not
And so,
relevant.
And again, you can accept some and not accept others.
take a good look at that. Robert's already making notes on them, and
This is excellent. This is,
Yes,
Robert gets double
I'm
A
surprised.
plus
Forgetting it.
for doing legal
I
research.
just happened to
This
talk
is-
to,
the law is
Annette
exactly
Atkinson
the-
last night. And she said,
The
oh,
law
I
is
said,
exactly
"Well,
what
guys,"
the
and they give me
law
a copy.
is, except, this is really good. You get double A plus for this, you really do.
We do. And off the record,
Good
I
graphics,
just
too.
wanted to say very simply that 2 deliveries a day, the guy sell his soul. But don't ever let me say that publicly.
Well, I'm surprised that they didn't attack that a bit, but they'd almost need an expert, but
Yeah, but yeah, you know, and
you can use your own common sense when you hear testimony. You don't
Yeah.
have to necessarily just take it for face value.
that's for sure. Okay, we have the minutes from, the budget meeting, November 18th, 2020, and, a work session on November 18th, 2020.
When's the next budget meeting, by the way?
We're done.
We're done?
We advertised.
Don't we have to pass it though? We
Yeah,
advertised it,
that'll
yeah.
be December
22nd.
22nd.
And again, then by the end of the
That's
year,
right.
that's all you have to worry
Yeah.
about.
Okay. All right, so, I looked at the minutes, as presented, and I had no problem with them. And actually, all 3 of us were here.
Move that we approve both
The budget and the,
budget and the work session.
okay, I'll second the motion. Answer to the land use appeal, landowners curative amendment, now, Ron, is it?
Can we vote on the minute?
We did.
Oh, I only heard the motion and the second.
Yes, well,
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
motion carried, right?
All right, the answer to the land use appeal, that's prepared. I think I distributed it by way of email, so if it meets with your approval, you should sign and have then Lois send to me the signature page, so I can get that filed for Monday's hearing. And likewise, the same with respect to A1, which is the answer to the motion for the hearing.
Okay, so do we need a motion to approve it?
You should have a motion to approve both of those answers, just so we have it on record. Because again, someone would later attack it and say, well, the township never formally voted to file an answer, blah, blah, blah. So,
Okay, so I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And if you have the originals there, then
We're signing them now.
if you wish, I can take possession of them, and I will then file them of record and see that copies are forwarded to you, because they don't let you go to the courthouse and file in hand anymore. It's all done virtually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you have to file, they don't let you go to the courthouse and file anything. That's why when you asked about the hearing, I have a call into Judge Zulik to see how many people can come to determine if on Monday either or all of you want to come to the hearing,
So we need a vote on the evidentiary hearing.
Yeah, we do.
We need a vote on both ends.
We have this, before us also ready to
Yeah,
sign.
you pass
You
that
made
to
the
me,
motion.
and then
I second your motion.
Okay.
I'll make sure copies
All right.
get to, Julia and the rest of you guys. So one less thing that Julia has to handle. She is a full playboy from what I see here on this agenda, I can tell you that.
And to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and if you have those, then pass that over to me then too, please.
Pardon me?
Jacob, have Jacob sign and pass that over, and then that takes care of A and A1.
Well, okay.
All right. That takes care of that.
You have A and A1?
Yep,
And
I do. And if you had a motion to vote on those two, we can roll.
We did have a motion
on the table,
We
we just need
voted.
a vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And they're signed now.
Yes, they are. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Okay, motion to appoint Gary Miller to the Smithfield Township Zoning Hearing Board, effective now. And, the reorganizational meeting will address this again. All right, so I'll make the motion, we appoint Gary Miller.
I don't know the man, but I'll second it because he seems like he has great credentials.
Yeah.
Well, yes, he has good credentials, and he came to a couple of meetings before.
Yeah, well, actually, he served on the Plan Commission years ago.
Right.
And now he's down at, well, anyway, let's keep going.
So I'll vote aye on that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to, transfer $100 from the general fund to open a fire loss escrow account. The check came in today, Julie, I guess. And, so we've gotten that done, so I guess we make a motion to approve the transfer of $100 from our general fund to open up a line item account, fire loss escrow account. As required. And I'll second it, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Shawnee Valley PRD, that's been tabled. I talked to, Kurt Williams, he's the attorney for it. And I begged him not to come today because he's got to drive all the way back to Carlisle.
He's got about 2 hours.
But as you said, for 2 minutes.
Yes.
You know.
Exactly.
So he will be on that agenda on December 9th.
Great.
So it's tabled. And again, motion to, reappoint Lucas Fuller to the Smithfield Township Zoning Hearing Board. Lucas served as the chair of that committee, and he said he would be willing to do it again.
I'll make a
shared his
motion.
letter.
Second.
Motion to obtain by eminent domain up to 2 acres.
On that one, too.
We did, didn't we?
No, we got a second. All in favor, right? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Julia's a stickler.
Well, she should be.
Yeah, especially with us. Motion to obtain eminent domain for up to 2 acres of land owned by DLP Properties at 528 Seven Bridge Road. I'll preface this by saying that we went out and we authorized somebody to go in and give us an idea of an appraisal of it. And this is, I think it's a good idea. It's a move in the right direction to get their attention.
What I need to get the eminent domain done is that, John has to give to me a meets and bounds description of the property, and I need a map also. So that has to be attached to the paperwork that gets filed with the court. I need the appraisal too, but I don't need that now.
Do we have to go that far, or can we just send a letter saying we passed the motion?
I can send them a letter saying a motion was passed by eminent domain.
I mean,
We do
all
not
we're trying to
hear
do
from you.
Flush him out here, so.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we could do that first, sure.
And I think that's Robert's intent, really,
Okay.
is to, like, shake them up.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
Maybe
do that.
someone will answer.
Okay.
I send a letter first, and to give them like
10 days to respond, or whatever holiday,
And that-
maybe 20, whatever.
And
then-
whoever you're talking to or communicating with.
I'm not talking to anybody. I made a phone call to that
I know.
Matthew something or other, the
Yeah.
attorney, Matthew Ryan, maybe
That's what
his
happened.
name is.
Yeah.
Talked to him once, he said he'd get back to me, and that was the end of it.
And I've tried to reach people there, I never get a response. So I'll make a motion to, retain by eminent domain up to 2 acres of land owned by DLP Properties at 527 Ridges Road.
I'll second the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discuss a letter from Shawnee Fire Company, it's an invoice that they, sent to us, indicating and asking for us to consider helping them out with the purchase of, tires for 2 fire trucks. Again, in the situation where they're involved with, we thought it would definitely worthwhile addressing that. The total is $56,1670. I might just say very quickly is that the next one that's coming will be from Marshall's Creek Fire Company. And what happens is with Marshall's Creek Fire Company is that,
So at least one doesn't
We buy-
steal tires from the other.
no,
That's good.
yep. So what do you wanna do with it? We can do a percentage of it, or we can do the full thing? I think we should do it.
Do you believe that the Marshall Street one is gonna be more than this?
It's already in, it's laying on the desk at 3,000 something. But, and it's, I think it's a once and done, because when we look at how we fund our fire companies, in this particular, and the reason, that, like, they can't do any fundraising and the whole thing, either one of them.
Yeah, you can certainly make a motion to grant both, as long as you're not, as long as you believe that it's not gonna open a floodgate, and for 5,000 or 3,000, on what budget do you guys have, like, millions of dollars in budgets, how much is it? 0.0000001%?
3 million.
Well, better should they say roll out tires, so.
Okay, so do we make a motion the motion would be to, we're not reimbursing, purchase, or pay for the purchase of these, 2 tires for 2 fire trucks for Shawnee Fire Company.
Yeah.
And, it's not on the agenda, but we could also say, Ron, and also to reimburse Marshall's Creek Company, because that's the way they do it.
It is not on the agenda. It probably would be better if you just kicked it over to next design.
Or we
Be
could make
safe.
two motions, they could,
Well, we
But
could
it's not
kick it
on
over.
the agenda.
G1 or something.
It's not on the agenda. You always have, when it's not on the agenda, someone saying, gee, if I knew that was on the agenda, I would've went to the meeting, and la, 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 la.
Then wait 2 weeks for tires.
On the 9th, we'll do it.
A week from today, you can do the marshal.
All right, the judges,
So, no, we're approving this one, right?
yeah, we made a motion to approve the payment of $56,1670. Second, Robert, all in favor?
Aye.
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 New lease. We initially, when they first came to us very quickly, they had a lot of things that they wanted done. Talked to, Ray Christine, who said he talked to the Office of, District Justices or something, and they went to the county commissioners. They said that they would do, and you saw my, of all of those things they wanted done, there's only 2 that we would be, involved with, the door, and I think lighting or something. Everything else, they're gonna take care of. Ergo, we made an adjustment on our original lease. And, we're not gonna extend the building out.
I think it's a good lease, and it's a little lower than what we were offered by Jack Williams Tire Company, but I think, they're good tenants down there.
Yeah, and, I agree with you, and it's 10 years.
Never hurt to have the judge underneath you, I can tell you that.
We had tire company, you could hear that all the time when they put up. Wake us up.
All right, we're gonna approve that?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's in here. Jacob, you okay with it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the new lease with Magisterial District Court
I'll second that motion. All in favor for a 10-year lease, all in favor?
Aye.
Proposal from, received from Barry Isis Associates, Marshall's Falls Improvements. It's in here. Robert, do you remember what that was? Those guys are in here.
What this proposal is discussing, now that we own 274 Marshall Falls, we need to get property surveyed so we can look at how we put parking lot on the property to better do the HOA requirements.
So we gotta get a survey.
So it needs a survey? Do they give a price on that in the?
They do, 500 tax deductible.
Does Lloyd have it in there, I think?
No, not that I saw.
No.
Got 2 acres there, I wonder what else.
Where's that?
We bought it, wasn't it 1 acres originally? Remember?
Yeah.
I wonder where that is. The house and the barn are probably not even on half an acre there.
Well, up in GIS. Yeah. The nice thing is when we do open a park, we will already have a 911 address for it, which is good.
The proposal is for 3,300 and
3,300.
Seems reasonable for sure. I don't think Frank Smith gets out of bed for this.
Okay, so the motion will be to approve proposal from, Barry Isis and Associates, for a survey of the Marshall Falls property,
the residential parcel.
residential barn.
Marshall's.
Marshall's, yeah, so it'd be the residential on the barn. On Marshall's Creek Road, at a cost of
3,300.
Julia, would you, follow, I know we'll have our purchase orders tomorrow, but would you take that on and just call Barry Isis?
Absolutely.
Robert,
All right, so I'll make the motion, or do you make the motion? Make the motion.
There's been no motion yet.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, all right.
Aye.
Okay, we got a request, and it's in here, John, maybe you could walk us through it.
Yeah, when we originally put it out to bid, I think the completion date was originally like December 10th or something like that, and that just didn't work with the changes and the complications. They said they would work through the winter, but they didn't recommend it because cold weather and everything else.
Seems very reasonable. We're not gonna get any fishermen out there in the winter.
So I would recommend, I mean, they'll order this stuff now, but I would recommend giving them until at least the 1st of May, perhaps May 30th to, complete the project. I'll do a change order to that effect if the board agrees.
It's very reasonable.
I'll move to grant them, the waiver to, be completed by, May 30th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So we're moving through this.
Yeah.
2021, correct.
Page
I don't
two.
wanna go back in time.
Page 2.
No, we don't want to go.
Approve to reissue a township settlement check in the amount of $25,000 payable only to Eagle Ridge Homeowners Association.
I already signed it, so I guess.
Yeah, it's, I did too. All right, so you made the motion.
Make a motion.
I'll second it. We signed it, I guess. All in favor?
Aye.
And again, if that check is available, yeah, give it to me and I'll pass it along. Or if you need to mail it to us, then that's.
I was trapped when I think.
Okay, that's fine.
It'd be good if we could give it to you. I got these things, well, Okay, reimburse Barry Isis office in the amount of $100 for the DCNR application fee for wellness. I'll make a motion to pay that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve the Verizon cell tower findings, conclusions, and decisions. Steep slopes conditional use.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful, it's all here to be signed also.
Well, we moved from 13 items to 20 minutes, not bad.
Well, no,
Let me tell you, Upper Mount Bethel would have like hours with this, in all due respect, Upper Mount Bethel.
Well,
Because they want to discuss and
well,
that you do it, like you, another meeting. For the regular meeting, you motion boom, motion boom, motion boom.
but remember,
what's the,
they have a lot more money to pay those attorney's fees. So we have to go fast here.
You're right, because you know how I am.
well, those guys ain't slouches either. What's today's date?
It's the second.
Second.
Yeah, Robert, I only had 2 of those little cinnamon things last
This
night.
goes to him.
Only 2?
Just 2, okay? Because you said to be very careful with it, so after I ate that 2,
Just, the little ones or the sliced ones?
the little ones, they look like a little crescent roll.
Yeah, no, but try the sliced one, that's got the really great chocolate.
Oh, I didn't do that yet, I was just doing the little crescent roll one.
No, start with the main event, work back.
It's indicating that I was absent on this, so.
Just put it in the microwave for like 15.
That's what the girls had a couple last night, that's what the cinnamon ones. Now, tonight when I go home, I'll try the other.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're chocolate.
I'm a big chocolate fan, I'd rather have chocolate as opposed to anything else.
Me both.
I mean, I like cakes, I like pies, chocolate.
Chocolate's always gets my attention.
Okay.
All right, well, if that's done, I'll come and get that too. Put that out in the mail tomorrow.
Bills to be paid here.
Tomorrow will be township stuff. Excuse me, I'm on this front. Yeah. Each of these.
Who's Phil Aco? Still on?
Yeah,
I thought we might have 2 people that really wanted to, like, attend our meeting, but that's not the case.
well, then, we're pretty close, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Well, we got the bills here.
Okay, we didn't pay our bills yet then. Jake, did you have an opportunity to take a look at them?
I did not go through these myself, I was out. At least I believe I did not go through, this set myself.
No, Lynn and I,
Yeah.
based on them and.
And she ran them by me also, so, okay. So let's make a motion, do we have a motion to pay these bills?
So moved.
All in favor? I'll second the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comments.
And then also, just checking really quickly, were there any executive sessions related to negotiations?
To the union negotiations? No. And we rescheduled, the date's gonna slip me, I don't know if we even let you know. When the hell we're gonna.
The next one? On the 22nd?
What else we gonna do too, did we cook another?
Yeah, that's when we're adopting our budget.
So it's December 22nd. Adopt the budget. So, let me keep this thing, this is excellent. Thing from Middle Smithfield.
Yeah, that's just, now at least we've got time to look through it, but
Yeah.
just outlined, as Ron said, it's a pretty good template for what we need to do.
Robert, you did really good work there.
Before
I
you,
would have never thought to look at Middle Smithfield, because to me, they're like,
Well, before we,
yeah, do you
I
want
know,
to
you
do
gotta adjourn yet.
public comments too? There could theoretically be this,
Does anybody have any comments on, anything, agenda items this evening?
Or you all asleep? Hearing none, then no one is on Zoom.
I'll move that we adjourn at 6:53.
I'll second that motion. Let me get that thing now, I don't wanna lose it. Traffic study.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.